Another day, another dollar. Thank the Lord for another 24. God, I knew that was you. I'm just getting back to the crib from the gym. Great chest day today. Feeling pumped up, feeling great. Quick correction officer video. I still get a lot of questions, from people all around asking me, questions about corrections, working as a correction officer, the hiring process, what's the pay, the salary, the benefits, the pros and cons. I still get questions all the time. I try to answer all the questions to the best of my ability. This video, I'm just going to go over and touch base on some of the pros and the cons, as far as working as a correction officer. The pros. The first thing when it comes to being a correction officer is the job security. If you go in there and you're working as a correction officer and you do the basics, you do your job, you do your rounds, you document everything, you stick to the policy and the procedures, you'll have hardly no problems for the majority of your career. It's just how it works. You don't have to worry about layoffs. Certain jobs, they lay people off when times get hard. I know a lot of people got laid off during COVID. We were working the whole time. When COVID went down, I was working the whole time. We were still in there. There was no layoffs when it comes to correctional officer. We wasn't at the house. We were still going to work. We were considered essential employees, law enforcement, whatever you want to call it. I was working even more during COVID because, we were locked down. The inmates were locked down a lot of the time, majority of COVID. So we was picking up a lot of extra shit. It was a lot of money to be made, during that time, during COVID. But like I said, if you go in there and do the basics, do your rounds, you make sure the inmates ain't in there trying to fight, stab each other, getting high, trying to harm themselves. You document stuff that's important that could possibly come up in the court. If something were to go wrong and you stick to the basics, you will have a long, successful career. You know what I'm saying? Getting on to the next thing is the salary, the benefits. That's one of the perks of being a correctional officer. I remember when I first started working in corrections, right? It was back in 2011. I was 21 at the time. I'm still in college. I was working at a small county jail in West Virginia, right? My base pay then was $23,000 and some change. Back then, that was a lot of money to me. I'm a broke college student. I was just in college full time. I'm working little part-time jobs here and there, just to have a little money in my pockets. Once I stopped playing football, I was in my last couple semesters of college, right? So boom, I got on at the county jail. I'm making like $23,000 and some change. It may not seem like a lot, but it was a lot back then to me. Plus, with the overtime, I damn near doubled my salary. I was only there 2 years before I got on with the feds, right? So I think it was like $42,000, my first year working in correction. That was back in 2011, and I was living in West Virginia. West Virginia, if you don't know, that's a low cost of living state compared to the rest of the USA. You look up, the cheapest places to live in the US, West Virginia is one of them. It's not a lot to do. It's up in the mountains. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. Only reason I went to West Virginia was because I went to college out there. I had got a football scholarship, to West Virginia State University. So I ended up going out there, going to school, playing football. I got my degree in criminal justice. After that, I was trying to get a job in my field. So I just stayed out there a few more years, right? And I worked 2 years at the county jail. Then I got on with the feds, the Bureau of Prisons. I worked at a federal prison. I started there in West Virginia. I was only there like a year, almost 2 years, right? So my salary jumped from $23,000 to, I think I started the feds August of 2013. My salary then, it jumped from like $23,000 to getting on at the feds. I was making like $45,000. That was just my base salary, right? Mind you, remember what I said, right? I was working a lot of overtime at that county jail, and I only made $43,000, right? So just jumping and getting on with the feds, I went from making $43,000 with all that overtime to just my base salary alone was $45,000, right? So boom, get on with the feds. My first year there, I didn't work a lot of overtime. I was a rookie, but I still, with working shift differentials, working evening shift, weekends and holidays, I still made like $60,000 my first year working for the feds. So boom, my second year, I get on with the feds. My second year I'm working at the federal prison. You know, I knew I wanted to transfer, so I started working more overtime because I was like, wherever I move to and relocate, I'm trying to buy a house. So I started picking up on the overtime, you know. So boom, my second year there, I made them like 70,000 and some change, you know. So boom, fast forward, I put in for a transfer. I get picked up here at the federal prison in North Carolina. Boom. My first year I get here, you know, they telling me, people, and it's like, man, it's so much overtime here. It's way more overtime at this prison than my last prison, right? So I get here, my first year alone at this prison, boom, I made 86,000. I was just working a few overtimes a week, maybe like 2 or 3 a week, you know, and I made like 86,000. After that, it just took off. It was like I hit the ground really hard on that overtime. You know, I had bought my house, you know, I was paying off mad debt. That second year, I made like 95,000. After that, the sky, it went even higher. I made, you know, since 2015, I've made over 6 figures every year. This is the thing, right? When it comes to the salary, you know, working in corrections, right? Most of these agencies, they're short-staffed. They've been offering bonuses, hiring incentives to get officers and staff in the door. So these days, they're starting off like 50, 60,000 in a lot of county jails, federal prisons, you know, state prisons nationwide. You know, I see the sign every time I leave work. The sign for new recruits is like, it says 63 to 73,000 just starting off. That's on top of a $10,000 sign-on bonus. They're throwing out mad buku money, man. I'm talking about crazy money. And that's not to mention, like I just mentioned, the overtime is off the chain. You could work overtime damn near every day if you want. And it's like you would triple your salary. Like, for instance, 2023, my base salary was 73,000, right? I made 150 plus. I think I made 153,000 in 2023 working overtime, you know. So the money's there, you know. The money's more than there. You would never, if you want to work extra hours, you know, everybody has different goals. You know, you may be trying to put your kids through college. You may be trying to buy your first house, pay off debt, student loans. You may be a little older, working at the job you get on. You trying to just pad your retirement. You know, all I'm going to say is this: the money is there. They're passing out the money like it's candy, you know. Every day I hear on the walkie-talkie, man, we got overtime for this shift. We got overtime for that shit. It's like left and right. It never stops, you know. Even if you're not trying to work overtime, we're so short-staffed, you're going to probably get mandated once or twice a week. So even if you come into it making, let's say you start off, I don't know, 55,000 as a rookie for your base salary, even with those 1 or 2 overtime shifts you get mandated for a week, you know you're going to have to work some holidays, some weekends, some different shifts. You probably have made, realistically, more likely 70 to 80,000 your first year without even trying. You know what I'm saying? The benefits are good. You know, we got a good health plan, vision, dental plan. The retirement's good. You know, I talk to a lot of people, you know, that retired from where I work at now. They work out at my gym. So I see a lot of them in there, and I be, you know, just asking them how the retirement is going. Some of them tell me they make more money sitting at the house than going to work when they factor in their pension, their retirement, you know, and any other outside savings, you know. So a lot of them, they just sitting at the house enjoying life, you know, living a retired life. Some of them may go get other jobs. They may start working for themselves, start a business, stuff like that. So I know if you smart with the money, you know, throughout your career, and you take care of yourself, you know, you could have a great retirement working as a correction officer. You know, the next thing, career advancement opportunities. You know, this is the thing. There's so many opportunities for career advancement within corrections, you know, especially you got a degree, you know, you got military background, stuff like that. You're willing to relocate and you work for the federal government, the sky's the limit. You know, I see people all the time, man. They transfer, they just jump from prison to prison. They stay there for like a year or 18 months, and it's like they get their next promotion. Boom. If you're willing to move around like that, you know, you could be damn awarded in probably like 8 to 10 years. I've seen it. You know, you start people that started off as an officer, 10 years from now, they awarded, man, making, them wardens making like 150,000, 180,000 with no overtime. That's their base pay. You know, 150,000, you know, you're doing 40 hours a week. You know, I was a dude I went to training with when I went to the academy for the feds, and I got cool with, you know, He started at a federal prison in California as an officer. Then he went way up to New Hampshire, got his case manager. Then I think after a year or two, he went down to Atlanta. He got his case, he got unit manager there. Now he's down in Mississippi at the federal prison. He might down there be an AW by now. I can't remember. I have to ask him. But the sky's the limit, and outside of the Bureau of Prisons, the federal prison system, there's so many different agencies you can apply for. Once you get a year or two in, you can go U.S. Marshals, Secret Service, FBI, ATF, DEA, Homeland Security. You can work for the airport. You could be a federal probation officer. There's so many other agencies outside of the Bureau of Prison. And even on the state level, you don't have to stay an officer, correctional officer your whole career. If you have other aspirations, you can go apply to be a police officer, a probation officer, stuff like that. There's so many different jobs. You can work for the court system, so the sky's the limit. If you cool being an officer, me, I kind of like being a correctional officer. I've been working as a correctional officer for 13 years now, and I actually enjoy going in there and, just being a correctional officer. So, I wouldn't mind if I just rolled out the rest of my career working in corrections, but I'm just putting that out there for y'all that if you have aspirations to go to different agencies or promote up, even within the prison system, you got different jobs within the prison system. You don't just have to stay an officer. If you want to stay at the prison, there's other jobs there too. You got case managers, you got counselors, secretaries, you got the people that do food service, the people that work in facilities, that's in charge of, fixing stuff when it breaks down in the prison. You got landscape crew, you got people that go out. Their job is to recruit for the prison, recruit new staff, stuff like that. So there's so many different jobs, you just got to get on there, play around with it, look, and if you see something, just apply for it. The worst they can tell you is no. I seen people apply, and they never got a job, and they kept applying, and finally, boom, something clicked. They got a job outside of custody. That's just how it works sometimes. You may apply the first time and get picked up for a new job, outside of corrections and custody, or it may take you a few times, but if that's your aspiration, just keep applying, never give up. Like I said, the worst they can tell you is no. The next thing is having a sense of purpose. Working in corrections, that's an important job. Despite what people may say, despite the public's perception of corrections, correctional officers, working in the prison, that's an important job. We are working, within the criminal justice system to keep society safe. We got dangerous people in there, that's in there serving their sentence. You got killers, molesters, rapists, big time drug dealers, big time mafia dudes, all kind of international terrorists that we have to contain and keep confined in that facility until their sentence is up. So we play a big role, as far as keeping them in there, trying to rehab and rehabilitate them, reform them, and make them better people when their sentence comes up. If they have a sentence expiration date and they're going to be getting back out, I tell people, I get to talking to people, man, just out and about or on vacation, and I tell them what I do, and they're like, wow, you a correction officer? I never met nobody that worked in correction. They always want to know what's it like working inside of a prison. Some people may be like, I got family members that worked in corrections all their life. My uncle, my aunt, my dad was a correction officer for like 20-something years. It always sparks up an interesting conversation, as far as working in corrections. The next thing, job variety. When I say job variety, working in corrections, you'll be exposed to a lot of different things, within the course of a day, within the course of a shift. No shift is damn near the same. A lot of times you got a lot of downtime. It's kind of routine. But when stuff happens, man. It never ceases to amaze me when I see something crazy go down in the prison. I'm like, man, I done seen it all in my 13 years. I found an inmate that committed suicide, hung himself. I done seen crazy fights. I done seen inmates get stabbed. I done seen staff members get assaulted. I done seen mental health inmates just do some of the most craziest, bizarre things you would never expect a human would do. I'm talking about stuff like reaching in the toilet and grabbing there, playing with it, rubbing it on, some crazy stuff. It's never a dull moment working inside a prison. There's always something going on. It never stops. When you go inside, you always got to be on game mode. Always got to be, looking up your shoulders and be, on your P's and Q's, because you never know what's going to go down. I had to save an inmate's life before. He had 2 heart attacks in the shower, died in the shower. I had to roll him over. I was the first responder. I was working that unit. I had to roll him over, call for help on my walkie-talkie, put some gloves on, start doing CPR, saved his life. He came back. They had to shock him like 9 times with the shock pads, man. So, like I said, you never know what's going to go on, man. These are some of the cons, though, as far as working in corrections, though. These are some things you have to keep in mind, too, now. It's a potentially high-stress job, and there's a high potential for burnout. You got, once I said, you go behind that wall, you got to think, like I said, you never know what's going to happen. So always being in that high state of alertness, on guard, that can lead to burnout over time. If you don't know how to manage it and turn it off. When I say turn it off, once your shift is over, you get past the sally port and outside of prison, you have to learn how to turn that mode off. If you try to stay in correctional officer mode 24/7, even when you're not at work, it's going to burn you out. It's going to stress you out. Working in corrections, you're going to have to work different shifts, long hours, weekends, holidays. Sometimes that can lead to stress, so you got to go into it and explain to your family, your loved ones, what the situation is. If you would decide to pursue this career, you got to explain, I may have to miss some events. I may have to work this holiday, this holiday, when in the past you was off every holiday. It just comes with the job, Maintain your health, your fitness, try to eat as healthy as you can. You work in different shifts, like night shift, second shift, try to get as much sleep as you can. I know it's damn near impossible. I work night shift. I don't get the best sleep right now that I want, but I try to, catch some good naps before my shifts. And on the weekends, I try to, if I'm not going out or doing anything, I try to be in the bed early, and I try to get up early and work out. And, I meal prep. I'm big into fitness. I've been working out 22 years, former college athlete, so I try to, do the things that'll help me have a longevity in my career, The next thing, cons, physical demands of the job. You have to think, you working in a correctional environment, you working around dangerous people. These inmates, they work out every day. Some of them bigger than me. They jack, big. I'm talking about they work out 7 days a week, So you may get into a situation where, you get into a physical altercation with an inmate, man, you may have to restrain him. He may be trying to attack you with a knife. You got to defend him from a knife attack, and they don't give us a lot of equipment to defend ourselves with when we're working in corrections. You may be in a unit by yourself with 100 inmates. It's just you. Only thing you got is your walkie-talkie, handcuffs, pepper spray. If you work, depending on where you work at, they may give you a taser, a baton, and that's it. They give you a stab-proof vest, A lot of agencies and institutions, they gave a stab-proof vest after an officer that got stabbed to death at a federal prison, But that's it. You ain't in there with no gun. The only people that got guns are the people that ride around patrolling the prison in like the patrol vehicles. They got guns out there. But inside the prison, you don't have no guns. Your biggest weapon working in correction is your mouth. You got to know how to communicate with the inmates. You got to have good verbal skills, get them to do what you're trying to get them to do, follow your commands. You have to be able to de-escalate situations when things arise. It's not about being a tough guy. It's not about trying to be macho, work out. Oh, I'm a tough, I know MMA, I know karate. None of that, man, because you got to think you're outnumbered at all times. You get in the inmate's face, y'all have some words and it gets physical. You don't know that inmate. You may not even know he may be a part of a gang. As soon as y'all get into it, his dang crew or his car or his gang may jump in. They may start jumping you, kicking you, and it's just you on a unit. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you can't even get to your walkie-talkie to call for help. So you have to have that physical, the physical demands you have to be able to meet. You may have to run the length of 2 football fields to respond to an emergency. Prison is pretty big, and once you get there, you still have to be able to perform. One of your coworkers may be on the rec yard getting assaulted. They get on the walkie-talkie. We need staff assistance in the rec yard. We got an officer down. You may be at the front of the prison. You got to try to sprint full speed to the rec yard. And when you get there, you can't be like, I'm out of breath. You still have to be able to perform. You got to be able to get that inmate off. You got to be able to break up fights. So that's why I say the physical demands of the job, that could be a con, so prioritize working out. Prioritize trying to keep in best shape as you can. An inmate may jump on you And you being in shape may be the difference in you being able to get him off of you, get to your walkie-talkie and call for help, or him just being on you, man, wailing on you or stabbing you in the neck, and you can't do nothing because you know he just overpowered you. It just is what it is. This is the next thing. I mentioned this earlier. Irregular shift work, overtime, holidays, weekends, working in corrections. It's not like a typical 9 to 5 where you just work Monday through Friday, you get up at 5 p.m. and you off the weekends and holidays. Corrections never stops. The inmates just don't go home just because it's a holiday, So you have to keep in mind, especially in the beginning when you don't have no seniority, you a rookie, you're gonna be all over the place. I remember my first year, I worked all kind of different shifts, first, second, third shift. Sometimes in the middle of the week, I may be on first shift. Monday, Wednesday, I'm all on a whole nother shift. Had to work sometimes 7, 8 days straight, weekends, holidays. It comes with it. So you have to know going into it, that's something that you're going to have to particularly keep in mind. You're going to have to work different shifts. It's a part of it, At the end of the day, is it worth it? Me, my honest opinion, I feel like it's definitely worth it, pursuing a career in corrections. It's been one of the best things that's happened to me, in my life. I'm glad I chose to be a correctional officer. The good far outweighs the bad for me. It's opened up a lot of doors for me. Like I said, the money's good. I've been able to buy a house, pay off most of my debt. I don't have hardly no debt. I get to travel out the country, take vacations, So most of the time you go in there, it's a routine day. You just do your rounds. You on a unit with the inmates, you go sit back down in the office till it's time to do another round. And it's like that, ABC. Most of the time in corrections, it's the same thing every day. You got that 5% or that 1% where you don't know what may happen, So if you're interested in corrections, I highly advise you, apply, look into facilities that's in your area. If you got any questions, you can hit me up, man. I got plenty videos on here talking about corrections. I got a whole playlist, man, full of wealth of knowledge and information about all different aspects as far as working in corrections. Y'all like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel at The Ghetto Bodybuilder. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok at The Ghetto Bodybuilder. I got the merchandise for sale. Shop with me on my website, www.theghettobodybuilder.com. Y'all got any comments, questions, or concerns? Drop a comment and I'll be sure to get back with you as soon as I can. Y'all know how we coming. Let's get motivated.